Hi everyone, Rachel from North Brisbane Psychologists here. Quick video today about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, or the 4 relationship killers, as John and Julie Gottman called them. I've mentioned on here before that John and Julie Gottman, who created the Gottman method of relationship therapy, studied around 5,000 couples over 20 years. And they discovered 4 kind of behaviors that spell the end of times for happiness in a relationship. And they called these the 4 horsemen. Let me tell you what the 4 horsemen are real quick. So we've got criticism, we've got defensiveness, we've got contempt, and we've got stonewalling. Let me just give you a quick definition, even though they're fairly self-evident, of each of these terms. So criticism is verbally attacking your partner or somebody. It doesn't have to just apply to partners, of course. It can apply to all relationships, this methodology. So verbally attacking the other person's behavior or their character. So it might sound like, you always leave your wet towels on the floor. You never remember to pick up the milk on the way home. You're the one who you couldn't navigate to save yourself. You know, we're putting down the other person's behavior, and maybe we're putting down their character. You're always the one who you never. It's not quite as bad as one of the other horsemen, which is contempt. So criticism on steroids is contempt, where we actually attack the other person's sense of self with an intention to hurt or insult. So criticism taken up a notch is contempt. Contempt is the opposite of respect. So this is an important distinction. All relationships will experience some mutual criticism eventually. And what, of course, happens when we get criticized? Anyone? We all know the answer to this. We get defensive. So as soon as we feel criticized, we are going to defend ourselves. That is our instinctive and reactive nature as humans, to go, well, if only you had of, or, you know, and we explain ourselves and we justify ourselves, and maybe we counter-criticize in order to defend ourselves. You all know what I'm talking about because you've experienced this with your parents, with your partners, with your friends, with your colleagues. This happens every day of the week, this criticism and defensiveness stuff, and we can take a certain amount of it. As long as we have good repair skills, which I will talk about in another video. Actually, I'll talk about them a little bit as the antidotes very soon. If we know how to repair conflict and manage it, then we can withstand some criticism. We're going to do it, we're going to receive it, and we can deal with our defenses. The biggest relationship killer out of these 4 horsemen is contempt, because contempt is when I mean to upset, hurt, or insult the other person. Contempt is like looking down on the other person. It's denigrating them. It can look like eye rolling and sighing and name calling and really, really denigrating someone's character. Contempt is the worst. And couples who we see in our practice who have a lot of contempt have a lot of repairing to do, because they've usually done an enormous amount of damage to their relationship with all of that contempt, as you can imagine. So I've talked about criticism, defensiveness, and contempt. And the 4th horseman is stonewalling, which is where we withdraw from the other person, give them the silent treatment, put up the invisible stone wall. And we do this to avoid more conflict. So it is a sort of an attempt to restore a kind of harmony. It's a false harmony, of course, because there's still conflict going on inside of us and usually inside the other person. So there's only that sort of false veneer of harmony. But if we don't want more outward conflict, and we don't want to keep conveying disapproval, we put up that distance and that separation. Now, we all know that one from our own lives as well, right? There are antidotes for these 4 horsemen. So let me take you through them. So the antidote to criticism is to be more gentle and use an I statement. I know it sounds a little bit kitsch, right? But it's true. If I say, I want to talk about what happened earlier today. I felt really upset. I felt hurt. I felt stressed. I felt frustrated because, I would like to have a more orderly and tidy house, or because I would like us to be able to cooperate better or speak with more respect to one another, or whatever our underlying positive need is, because there's always a positive need underneath a criticism. And that's so important. I'll say it again. There is always an underlying positive need underneath a complaint or a criticism. We have to figure out what that is and then say that. The antidote to defensiveness, which follows on from being criticized, is to take responsibility for any wrongdoing on your part. And it's amazing how effective this is. I've spoken about this in other videos, managing defensiveness. So if your partner says, "You forgot the milk again," you go, "Yeah, I did." "You left the wet towels on the floor." "I did leave the wet towel on the floor." You did X and you didn't tell me. You did Y instead of X, and and you lied to me. Well, you can say, "Well, I didn't lie to you, but you are right. I did say X and I did Y." That is true. So you take some responsibility for what you have done, your contribution to the problematic situation. Very hard to do when you feel like defending yourself. Very hard to do when you're feeling super reactive and judged and criticized and attacked. But it diffuses that situation so fast if you can just own up to what you did do. Don't beat up on yourself, just own up to what you did do. The antidote to contempt is pretty much don't do it, because contempt is that awful relationship killer. And build a culture of appreciation instead. So the opposite of contempt, like I said, is respect. And if we build that culture of respect or appreciation by reminding ourselves of our partner's positive qualities and expressing gratitude for the positive actions that they have taken, then that will build a different culture, because cultures of contempt inside relationships they're suicide. They just spell the end of times for that relationship. The best relationships are ones where couples express appreciation, gratitude, and thankfulness and admiration for the good qualities. You have to scan for the good, because it's too easy to scan for the bad. And the last one, the antidote to stonewalling or silent treatment, is physiological self-soothing. So the joke I make always, I tell my couples that, when I need time out to self-soothe, this is the antidote. Put yourself in time out. Sometimes I go to Officeworks because looking at all of that perfectly ordered stationery calms my nervous system. You will probably have your own thing, but you need to remove yourself. Tell your partner, "I'll be back in half an hour," because it takes up to half an hour for your brain and body to metabolize the stress hormones that have been pumped out during that argument or fight. And there's no point in staying in it, because you won't be thinking clearly once you've become really stressed and defensive. You do actually need to take some time to let your brain and body, your physiology, metabolize those stress hormones, calm down. You can deal with anything when you calm. Put yourself in a different situation, do something different, go for a walk, play the piano, play solitaire, talk to a friend about what they did yesterday, clean the kitchen. Do something where you won't be thinking about too much about the argument. When you're calm, come back, say, "Are you ready to talk?" "I'm ready to talk." But don't walk away and punish your partner. Say, "I want to talk about this, but I can't talk about it right now. I want to talk about this, but I'm too upset. Can we please talk about it in half an hour, or at 2:00, or after dinner, or whenever would be a good time when you're both calm again?" So physiological self-soothing and time out is the antidote to stonewalling. I will post an article about this in the comments below. But if you have any questions about the 4 horsemen and their antidotes, please feel free to ask in the comments below. And I hope this was helpful. And until I see you next time, bye for now.